Okay, so Nick Fuentes has continued his rise into, I guess, mainstream relevancy, mainstream acceptance, even if they're claiming to be trying to go against him. The reality is he's still getting many, many, many mainstream platforms. And there's definitely a correlation between this happening and the death of Charlie Kirk. I just find it so fascinating because I knew about Nick Fuentes even before like 2020. He was always just the weird young debate lord guy that had just insane views, and he just felt like a character. I'm not claiming that he didn't believe what he was saying. It was just more of, you felt as though he was trying to provoke people, and it worked. He was provoking people, but he's also established a base of, say like the incel groiper crowd, very anti-woman, very racist, blah blah blah. But what I find so interesting is how much it's caused infighting in, say, the right. You have like Ben Shapiro coming out and, trying to disavow him and say, we can't have this in our movement, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, the truest reality is that the modern conservative movement, the modern conservative, the modern Republican Party, and how it's changed over the last 10, 15 years. And it's changed a crazy amount in the last, I would say, 5 years, right? Is the only real difference between Nick Fuentes and the beliefs of, say, someone like Ben Shapiro is that Nick Fuentes takes the conservative viewpoint, not that I don't want to the conservative movement viewpoint. I don't want to say it's necessarily conservative, but the conservative movement viewpoint to its logical conclusion. And if you're going to be, anti-Muslim, anti-woman, trying to push for more traditional values, then Israel and Jewish people would also be under that category. And that's all Nick Fuentes has done, is he has included the support for Israel under the category of who should be separate from America. That's what he's done. Uh, Obviously, it makes his views still very problematic, but I just find the infighting crazy to witness because they do not want to face their own contradiction, and that is like right up my alley of what I care about. But anyway, he went viral, or he's gone a little viral with some clips recently here of him going on Piers Morgan, and that is another indicator of the mainstream appeal that I've been talking about, is the fact that he got invited on Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan does push back my thoughts on Nick Fuentes and also just commentate on this.
You think Hitler was very fucking cool?
Yes, I do.
One of the
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Well,
to be honest,
this is the problem, you see. It's a bit like when you just say, I'm a racist. You're a racist who thinks Hitler's cool, but you're not anti-Semitic. If you're a Jewish person watching this, what are they thinking?
Okay, so the reason I like this clip is because, one, to me, Nick Fuentes is the perfect example of the manifestation of how much the conservative movement has become very postmodern. Because Nick Fuentes, he's a 27-year-old, right? He's clearly got this kind of ironic trolling vibe to him, right? And his views. And when I say ironic, I'm not saying he doesn't believe the things he says. It's more so he started off maybe having these leanings, these racist leanings, this Holocaust denial, the praising of Hitler. And it started off as kind of this ironic trolling thing. And then he starts getting a platform, he starts getting support, and he kind of just becomes this character. Now he is that. He is Nick Fuentes who believes this stuff. He kind of always believed it probably, but now he's using a new rhetoric that I think it makes people wonder how truthful he's being, in a sense. I don't want to focus on that point for this, but it's more so my example of saying he's a postmodern conservative is, in a way, he's rejecting the modern conservative value structure, the structure of it. He wants to change it. He sees the BS within it. This is not praise, because his idea is almost like a nostalgic based one where he wants to go to the past and reinsert a stronger structure, which is another example we'll be getting into. But then you can see how he kind of uses the ironic weaponized language, right? Where he's trying to claim to be using this truthful beliefs, and then being hyperbolic around it, because he's trying to like kind of wrap these extreme statements saying like liking Hitler, and then, under the guise of like kind of asking questions, and then he's also still basically expressing to his base. It's like a call out to his base of like, look at, I'm saying it on Piers Morgan, right? And then all of this, when he gets attacked for this, when you see how it went viral and he gets criticized or he gets supported even, it creates the martyr complex even more. The modern manifestation of that, of like going against the current structure and the established views of the conservative movement and fighting against it. So he's also, while doing this, while saying things like, yes, I do. I think Hitler was a cool guy, blah, blah, blah. He's creating this persecution narrative complex and enhancing that in a way, because in his world, in his supporters' world too, being canceled, which is why he uses, I think, such hyperbolic language, even though if he's kind of tamped that down as he's got more mainstream appeal, he's tried to, I think, filter it a little bit. Even given this clip, it doesn't feel like it is. He actually is, which is insane to think about. He's basically trying to use being canceled as a validation. It creates this validation of him being a truth teller fighting against the established beliefs and belief structure of the conservative movement. It's so weird to witness. But let's get into the other fun clip, because this one, it's great to have this, just him publicly saying some of this stuff now.
Just to clear up one of the many theories. About you, I've no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
See, basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow
fossil.
old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
You see, the one thing, this isn't even maybe the important point, but this is the point that I kind of fixated on, is Piers Morgan, calling himself, I'm the boomer in this situation. I'm just the old guy with the old views. And then basically Piers Morgan's trying to like flip that, right? And basically call Nick Fuentes the true one with the boomer views, because he's got the old views. But it goes to my point of Nick Fuentes holding this position of trying to go against what he sees as the structure of the conservative movement, and framing himself in this nostalgic sense of someone that's trying to go back to these older nostalgic views of being anti-woman, being annoyed by women, not wanting them to be able to vote, all this stuff, right? He frames it in that way, and it creates this like flipping effect, because in a way, here's like an example. He almost has weaponized purity. This is how he tries to frame himself as, Catholic, and we need to be back to being Catholic. It's part of his structure of framing himself as this, I am the purest form of what a conservative, right-wing, fascist male should be. Because not only do I think women shouldn't vote, not only do I think they should stay in the kitchen, I also don't even like them. Because the reason it's so fascinating, because the logical conclusion of some of those views is you see that as a reaction to the modern woman, right? Trying to allow women to be more independent, they're more in the workplace, to have agency in a sense, right? That's like the modern move of what women should do and have the right to do, right? And his reaction to that is also taking what he interprets as the right-wing position of what it is to be a conservative, what it is to be even a fascist or whatever, to its logical conclusion. Because if you look at the views of what the past, the legacy of the conservative movement is, or even what the legacy of how women are viewed in a lot of religious interpretations. They are viewed as disliked. So Nick Fuentes has actually taken that to the logical conclusion where now he's even claims to be straight, but he's also repelled by them. He doesn't want to be around them. He doesn't have sex with them. He is creating this purity complex and framing himself as the purest form against the structure that is corrupted. That is what he would say probably as degenerate. So it's kind of this generational revolt against what I just described, I guess you could say. In a way, he's like rebelling against the rule of old to bring it back to what he views as a more pure form of old, as kind of Piers Morgan called him out for, right? But his stance against women voting, for example, too, I think is also like kind of like an example of, I guess you could call it like mobilizing passion. It kind of appeals to men who feel displaced by gender equality, right? And promising a return to this mythical natural order of male dominance. So he uses the hyperbolic language while also framing himself as the pure form, going against the structure. But the crazy part of the whole thing is that he views himself as the more consistent conservative, which I don't think it would be a completely wrong interpretation to say that. That's, there's reasons I'm not conservative because I actually like women. I don't know. I also want to like bring a point of how he's also kind of the psychological side of this is he's representing, let's say, incel culture, where they've decided they're not even going to try with men anymore because they couldn't, women didn't like them, blah, blah, blah. But he's trying to also sell and signal to his base, which all commentators do. Once you get a little bit of an audience, you are always, in some sense, beholden to them and become beholden to them because you are kind of a voice for them. But he is selling the racist fantasy, or in this case, a sexist fantasy, to them and trying to validate that. And that's what gets validated by this kind of more mainstream acceptance is he's basically telling his followers that their lack of happiness is because women and minorities have stolen it. He is giving a voice to people that perceive themselves as a victim. He is expressing their resentment. And I think it's important for us to recognize that and know how to properly go against it and provide a better narrative that can, bring people into your worldview that you actually support and want supported. But anyway, it's still like this false idea of alienation or whatever, because he targets incels and alienated men by offering this kind of concrete enemy, say women, Jews, immigrants, right, as like their obstacle to satisfaction. And this, I think, provides a kind of weird, perverse sense of purpose and enjoyment through shared hatred. Through it creates that community and shared goal against something, against some structure that they feel is wrong to them. Now, I think that they just have a completely ridiculous, uneducated, and just a dumb view of what the actual problem in the structure is. Because like instead of analyzing, how consumerism has taken away your power and how the corporate structure taking over the government has influenced your ability to, say, buy a house and pay your rent, they want to blame these minority groups as just the one small thing causing the problems. Because if you analyze what the actual problem is, that overarching structure is way more scary. It's way harder to go against. And that's why the conservatives often lean on the things they lean on, because it is still kind of in a way embracing the structure that is the status quo structure. And it's just like everything's fine. We just need to fix these few things. It's these few small groups that are the problem. Because if you look at the overarching structure as the issue, then the structure is not almost okay. The uphill battle is way bigger, way more difficult to overcome. And if you having to change that is a much scarier thing to analyze than blaming groups that already don't have a lot of power, right? And that's kind of where some of this is built, you know. But anyway, and that's why you end up, having, like, incels end up holding their beliefs because we're all looking for something foundational in our identity and our belief structure, right? And I do think, like, the conservative mind has these leanings towards something more fundamental. So they want to create a smaller uphill battle because they desire certainty and they don't want to lose even more or perceive themselves as losing more. And they don't want to analyze the potential ideas they have about being a man, the ideas they have about how a society should run, how that has been influenced by the very thing they despise, right? They don't want to analyze that too deeply. So they want to believe that much of the structure is fine. They're almost there. They're almost at the top again. They just need to have these fundamental identity points reinserted to bring them back, because this certainty is psychologically seductive to those who feel their identity is under threat. Nick Fuentes represents that because he is claiming, I'm the pure form. Because not only do I want to take these things away from women, I don't even like women myself. So obviously I'm the consistent one. It's just a better world. I'm just saying the quiet part out loud, and you're scared to do it. And he's saying, oh, I like Hitler. We all claim that we think minorities are doing this, this, and this, and he goes against the Jews. I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. Hitler was just trying to do the thing that I believe. Maybe his way of doing it was wrong, but he was just trying to create a better world, blah, blah, blah. So it's this constant feeling of, I am just so close to the structure being the way it should be, because they don't want to analyze the scary idea of how we collectively share in a responsibility to actually analyze the deeper structure that is affecting us, the corruption in our government, the corruption that corporations who are influencing said government, the backroom deals that get done, the president creating a meme coin and then doing a rug pull and making millions of dollars. The president likely taking money and then pardoning said people, such as the Binance CEO. Many, 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 many examples, right? And every time someone like Nick Fuentes, say, critiques Trump, he critiques Trump through the lens of, he is not doing enough of what I want. He is not taking it to the extreme enough. ICE isn't doing enough. So it's purity politics. He's framing himself as a victim. He's representing himself as a victim for his base. And then he's also still technically trying to go against the structure, but he's almost, in a way, and this is kind of my concluding point, is he's acknowledging the ideology of the structure, which I would say is problematic in how we view the world. But he is saying it's not fully problematic. We're almost there. We just need to go back to these things, and then the structure will be fine. Where it's like me, people would claim I'm more leftist in opinions. I'm saying the structure itself is very problematic. We need to do things to move the entire framing of how the structure should operate. We need to evaluate the foundation. He is actually not trying to evaluate the foundation. He is trying to take the foundation to its logical conclusion.